Hiya folks, Bob here, what's happening? So today should be a pretty easy one for us here. I thought I'd do another wee guide for the new time trial we have up, which as you can see here it is at Dragon Trail Seaside. What a surprise! The difference with this one being that it's just not forcing you to select one particular car, that it's just in the group 4s, so you can choose any group 4 car that you desire. I should say though that recommendation is for you to pick the GTR. As you can see with global rankings and friend rankings I have, it is quite clearly dominated by the one car, although you will be able to get the gold time easily enough in pretty much anything here. I think that you're able to drive pretty well, so hopefully whether you're in the GTR or not, this will help you out a wee bit if you happen to be struggling here. So the gold time there is currently at 1:47.698, and as most of you probably know by now, this will move or change or get even down even more if the top time is beaten or is made quicker. So safe bet here is try and get into the low 47s, as close to 47.0 as you want. If you run away here with a 47.5, you're gonna want to come back and double check the time periodically, so that over the next 11 days from the recording of this right now, just in case that time goes down, because I've known quite a lot of people on these things now who've gotten away, scraped the gold time, and then come back to it on the last day it's up to find that their time is only worth silver now. So bear that in mind and try and create a little buffer in your time. I would say get down here to a 47.1 or 2 or 3 and you may be alright. Well, we don't know. I can't imagine the time moving that much. Anyway, waffling Bob. I got a 46.2 here, which is well under the gold time. I can do a lot better, but it's only going to be hours of tears and frustration and banging my head against the wall if I want to say take another half a second off that time. As you'll see in the lap, it's not as tidy in places I'll point out. But yeah, hopefully this will help you anyway, and hope you have fun with this one, because this is a pretty nice track and car combo to drive around. Pretty fun. Anyway, on with the replay. I'm going away. Bye. Right, so on to the juicy stuff here, folks. We're going to come up here to turn 1. This isn't turn 1 in my book. We're going to come up here to turn 1. And as you can see, I'm already on the brakes here at the 150 marker board. Although, whenever I'm doing this, I generally use the beginning of this curve as a reference. Try and brake somewhere in between this red strip here. That's a general sort of marker, but 150 is a good place to start if you want to make sure you're braking in time here. Now you'll notice as I come up here, I'm moving quite a bit onto this curb here, and bumpy the car goes. This is essentially to create a sharper turning angle into the first corner, because as soon as we're over this first curb on this left turn in, we want to be flat down on the accelerator again and throttle all the way out of the chicane up the hill. So you see here, if you want to be safe about it, you can aim so your left wheels are just going over this curve and you're going up that way, although it might be more difficult to come out of the chicane if you're getting on the power as early as you want to. So this is why here you see I actually go fully over this curb and hook my left wheels right inside the curb here. Now the problem with this is a lot of the time it's going to destabilize your car so much it'll bounce and send you into the wall. But if you do it right, and it looks a little sketchy with me the way I pull it off here, but if you do it right, you should be on the power just coming out of this apex, literally here. So I'll go back and then we'll watch that first corner again. You'll be able to see down here where I'm getting on the power exactly. So braking and turning in, and then on the power here you see on the apex, and then I'm carrying that throttle flat all the way out up here. So, and one thing I will say about that first turn is I wasn't braking exactly the way I wanted to. I'm still getting used to this. It was a couple of weeks on the wheel, so sometimes I'm not really translating to my feet exactly what I'm aiming to do. But what you would optimally want to do there is brake as you're going in the straight line, as you're turning in left into that first turn. You're still on the brake, but you're slowly lifting off it. You know, trail braking going into it. This will get you the car more stable as it's going exactly where you want into the corner, and help you carry momentum through. But anyway, I'll move on here to this next corner. So ideally you're going up to 5th gear and then turning in such a way that you can carry that flat out. So you can see here is roughly the turning point. I'm not using any markers or guides. I've just got my eyes fixated on that curb in front of me, and I know exactly where I want to put the car. So you'll see as I go over it, my left wheels are actually fully on this curb, as far over to the right hand side as I can possibly get without getting in the track limits. And yeah, this gives me a really nice line to come up here, and then I'm still flat in the throttle here, and as you come up here you want to essentially use the end of this patch of grass as your braking point, maybe a bit before that. So maybe about here you would want to be braking, and then yep. So I'm on the brakes before the end of that patch of grass, and I'm fully onto this curb here. This is to get me a really nice angle going out of the next corner. Now The mistake I made here is I didn't exactly get my car quite as far over as I wanted to, because you're aiming essentially to get the car fully onto this curb here at the apex of this corner, whereas I only managed to sort of get my right wheels going over it, like there. So essentially, if you want to imagine the car should be with its right wheels about there, and you're looking for as straight of an exit as possible this way. So it's very important, even from that previous corner, to get this corner right. And then, so as you're going over this curb here is pretty much where you want to be back on full throttle. And then I'm going out. So we'll look at that wee bit again, showing the gears and the throttle and stuff. So you're going right over this curb here. If you do that right, you're not bouncing. And then there, I'm going down to third. Now, that might be quicker for you if you drop right down to second. It all depends on the momentum you're carrying through here and the angle that you're attacking the corner at. If you get that even tidier and sort of nicer than I did, then you can get on the power really early. If you're carrying enough momentum through, it's absolutely quicker to stay in third through that corner, because then you just carry far more speed coming down this hill. So this next section is kind of where I sort of struggle at. And I've paused at exactly the right time. That's where I'm roughly getting on the brake here. So on the brakes, you don't want to slam the brakes for this corner. You just want partial brake. You just want a wee dab, and then keep lift off the accelerator, dab the brake, and then, you know, coast the car into the corner. Keep your foot off the accelerator coming into here. Now, I don't really have any specific guides as to where I turn into this corner, so I'm just going to see exactly where I really start turning in. It's pretty much about here. Yeah, you can see, and there's me off the brake, whereas it should have been a lot more brief and smooth. I'm not very smooth on the brakes and coasting the car in here. So, but then, yeah, you're aiming for about here, hooking your wheels over and getting on that grass a tiny bit if you need to. That's absolutely fine. You're roughly just looking for that line to looking for the apex of that corner, and that's where you want to be on the throttle all the way up this hill. Excuse me. So coming up here, I didn't get my line very, very accurate at all. This is the part of the track I'm very inconsistent with. So you're just aiming to go around, aiming for those curves, the apexes, except here is where I actually hook the wheels onto the inside of that curb. Now, you may see the car bounce quite a bit as it's coming out of this, but contrary to what you might think, this doesn't actually lose you time, if any at all. And if you're carrying the momentum through and getting the line right, you're going to find that you're going to need to come over the curb like this as you keep doing it, and as you pick up pace, and if you get your line right through the whole S's here. I'll just go back to the start of that, where you can see slight brake, turn in really early, earlier than you would think, and then flat on the throttle and carry it all the way up out of here. And that's that. So you come down here, right, whoops, I've gone a bit far. So you come down the hill, and then you'll come to this very sharp right. Now, I always I confess I don't really use the meter boards for this one either. I always use roughly the beginning of the blue and yellow curb strip here, maybe in this red strip here is roughly where you want to start braking. A little bit after that, if you can properly trail brake into the corner maybe. That's what the trail braking would do if you're doing it effectively, I've found, is it allows you to brake later and you're still slowing the car further down as you're going into the corner. It just helps that little extra tiny bit of time, and then you're carrying slightly more momentum and speed out of the corner. So the trail braking thing is something you'll definitely want to get down if you haven't already. I'm still pretty new at it, so don't watch my braking inputs for advice on that specifically. But yeah, you see I'm actually braking a bit later there. I'll go back actually to see the exact point I am, because it could be very good reference. So in my mind, I'm braking at the start of the red and white blue curb strip. The blue and white curb strip, sorry. But it's actually just a tiny bit after that here. And then I'm moving slightly onto that curb, although you could move a lot more over onto it to get an even sharper turning angle in. Although that's not really necessary. So coming into here, I'm actually dropping right down to second gear. And then you're essentially aiming for the apex of this curb here. And this is where you want to be on the throttle, flat out. Come from second, don't shift immediately up to third. It'll be faster in this car if you rev up second and shift to third and then go out of it. And then you can just carry that line right round. So yeah, you can see I'm slowly shifting down through the gears, down to second. Power from the apex there and onwards. Now this is the fun part. This is the famous death chicane that you're all cacking yourself over probably. So here you'll see I managed to be able to do it flat out on the throttle the whole way through. This is something that's quite tricky to get down, and you have to get your turning point dead right, otherwise you're going to have a most magnificent crash, I promise you. So the thing about the goal time in this lap, it really isn't too bad. So this is not necessary whatsoever to nail going flat out on the throttle the whole way through. You can go into the chicane and then take a good nice big lift off the throttle to get yourself a safe line on the way out. And that's how I've always done it in races. I only typically try to do this in time trial because it doesn't have a very high succession rate, at least for me. So I'll go through the line here anyway. You're going over the first curb, turning in and essentially carrying that turning angle in right the way through there. Now, I'll go over this a couple of times. So I'm not sure if it really matters, but I think you do want to be taking most or if not all of this curb on the way in. This is just to get your line right, because you want to get your line and your turning angle dead right if you want to pull this off. And then this is where I'm starting to turn in. So you're taking quite a lot of this second curb as well on the way in. Maybe not so much, there's only my left wheels have gone over it. But then you'll see as I come in, I'm still turning. There's me right up against the barrier pretty much. And this Marshall stand where the guys are standing right here, that's a rough guide if you want to use one to start turning in. Now look how far away the exit of that chicane is. You'd be sitting driving along here Wouldn't blame you for a second to think that's far too early to turn in. So you really have to get used to this and turn in far earlier than you think you probably need to. And there's me. So I am carrying on straight there for a few meters or so, but there's me actually turning in, actively turning in. And it's pretty blind coming out of here. Like, it can be quite scary when you're trying that at full clip. And you'll see just how close I come to the wall, to the barrier here. But this is what you're aiming for. You're aiming for as close to this as you can get, and then as close to this as you can get. If you get close enough to this one on the way out, your right wheels will be running over this red part, over this curb. If you go over the curb a little bit farther away from the wall, it's going to make you bounce and you'll be in this wall here in no time. So that's the line that you want to take through there anyway. And you'll see coming out, yep, I'm over that curb. I'm pretty much taking the wing mirror off the barrier coming out there. And one more time you can see my angle turning in. I'm over the curb, over this curb, turning in, turning in, turning in, keep turning, keep turning, keep turning, flat out, go. And that's it. That'll just take practice. If you want to nail that flat out like I just did, that's the line you want to take, and you just want to get it into your head when you're turning into the chicane. You're not turning into the chicane and going straight and turning out. You're turning in and you keep turning, turning, turning on your way out. So it's very fluid and very, very, very satisfying indeed when you get that down. But yes, one last corner, and I actually fucked this one up quite a bit. So you're coming up into here and you want to be braking slightly before the start of the curb strip, maybe on it if you're brave enough and you can trail brake properly into the corner. I actually brake too late here and you go into a sort of slide almost and lose probably a few tenths of time here. So my time could have been a bit better if I'd tidied up this corner. But you can see there I'm on the brakes well before this rumble strip. Now, the thing about this corner you do want to get your head around is I'm maybe not making the best example of it here, but if you position your car quite well over on this curb, if you ride this curb on the outside of the track coming in, and then try and take a very deep and wide angle into the corner, this will let you ideally get on the power earlier to come out of it and up the straight. But you see there I go into a slide and catch it and lose time, and then I'm on the power and coming out of the corner. And then I'm flat out to the line, and that's me. So yeah, I hope that helps anyway. Get some breaking points and lines into your mind to sort of help with getting the flow around this track. It shouldn't be too hard, like I said, unless you're 3-4 seconds away from the time. You'll have some work to do, but hopefully this will help you. So yeah, good luck folks and have fun. I'll see you later. Bye.